Most wholesalers and buyers spend all their time chasing the same deals that everyone else is chasing after. But the money is truly made in the off-market properties that no one is looking at. In this video, I'm gonna break down the exact niche list that we use to go and find our motivated sellers. And secondly, I'm gonna show you guys the exact direct mail strategy with handwritten letters, self-addressed envelopes, so that our sellers, they actually open our envelope. Often, guys, we find people who are ready to sell before they even know it. Lastly, I'm gonna show you guys the cadence of how we stay in touch with these people, because it's always in the follow-up. By the end of this video, if you're ready to go, you're gonna know the exact blueprint to go out and find your own off-market deals. But if that's not you, and you just wanna help or just learn the process, I'm gonna have some great options for you to take action and get involved with our team. Now, before I go through our 9 different niche lists, I wanna really reinforce the importance of going direct to seller. A strategy we've been using for 5 years now and continues to year over year be one of our best strategies is direct mail. If you don't believe me, check out the numbers. Last year, I'm gonna write this down for you guys, we invested $30,000 in direct mail. That led to a profit, get this is gonna blow your mind, $655,000 of profit. Yes, you heard that right. That's because we were finding great deals going direct to seller. We were finding them before anyone else was, and we were able to negotiate our own terms. If that doesn't get you excited on doing direct mail and going toward niche lists, then you might want to stick to your old ways and just keep on that dialer and keep cold calling. Now let's get down to some of the tactical information that's going to help you guys. I want to share the top 9 niche lists that we use and have been most profitable for us. Number 1, vacant and distressed homes. All right. So these ones can be the hardest ones to find and can take the most legwork. One of the best ways to find distressed homes are what we call, right down here, actually, I'm going to draw my arrow all the way down to here. It is driving for dollars. What driving for dollars means is you are literally, or you're finding somebody to help you do this, driving the streets, looking for abandoned houses, looking for houses with the overgrown weeds and grass, looking for mailboxes that are exploding because the mail is like literally blowing out of the mailbox and falling on the ground because somebody has not checked it in so long. There are all these little indicators that are going to show you that, hey, maybe this house is distressed, maybe it's vacant, right? And also just deteriorated houses. If you see a house that's really run down, not well kept, those are typically ones that are going to be great options to go market to, because again, that is going to be our vacant and distressed. This is one of the hardest ones to pull though and to get data from. A lot of times it's going to take manual work to get this one, but it can be the best list. Think about this as I go through these. Anytime it's hard to get the list, that creates a higher barrier to entry, and therefore you're going to have less competition and typically find the best deals. List number 2, pre-foreclosures. This is one of the most popular lists to hit, and it's going to have the most competition, arguably, of all 9, because this is typically data that not everyone can pull it easily by themselves. A lot of people will hire companies, ourselves included. We get a list every single week of all the pre-foreclosures, right? As soon as somebody starts to go late or go into pre-foreclosure, we get that name and that address, and we're going to send a postcard to them or send a handwritten self-addressed letter to them, which I'm going to show you guys in a little bit. But this is a great list because this person is going to have high motivation. Number 3, one of my favorite lists, and it's been very successful for us. We've been marketing to this list for years. This is the probate and inherited list, okay? Now, this is not the most fun one to talk about, and not to be morbid, but this is typically when there's somebody who passes away and they own a property. We will get that list, and then we will start to reach out to the heirs. You got to be very careful in your approach here because it's very sensitive, and you don't want to just be this marketing guy that starts calling people and saying, hey, I want to buy your house the day after somebody passes away. You got to be very careful with this one. But again, I really do like this list because we're able to bring value to people. Again, all these things, we're doing this to help people out. And if we can bring value to somebody who just inherited a house and lives across the country and doesn't want anything to do with this thing, and it's just this huge stressful headache, and we can help make it easier for them by taking the house off their hands at a price that works for them, then that's a win-win. List number 4, tax delinquent. All right, this is also going to be another pretty popular list because this data is pretty readily available online. But you're now looking, think about this is another form of motivation, right? These people are behind on their taxes. It's an easy list to pull, and typically could be somebody who's wanting to sell. Again, there might be some people that just haven't paid their taxes yet and they have no motivation, but at least this is an easier one to pull. All right. Number 5, divorce lists. Again, not the most happy situation, but it could be a situation where you can bring value, and this can be public data, right? Or again, in our case, we hire a company who gives us this list every single week, shares all the recent divorces that have been filed, so we can reach out to that husband or that wife or both and say, hey, we're an option here. We understand you might be selling the house and we'd love to help. Again, that's not typically how we lead on the first communication, but as we get into it, we want to be a resource. Number 6, code violations. Well, again, not one of my favorite ones. This one is going to take a little bit more work. Okay, there's not typically just going to be some website that gives all the code violations. To do this, you're going to have to be calling the county, calling the city. You might have to actually go down in person to the city planning office or wherever they have this list, right, and talk to them in person. Or alternatively, this might be a piece of data that you can buy from somebody who puts it together. But this one is going to take some work to do, right? But again, the harder it is, the higher barrier of entry, the better that list is going to be and the better leads that you might find. Number 7, very similar to where you would find it to the code violations, is utility shutoffs. Okay, on the utility shutoffs, these are lists. Again, this could be the water got turned off. I mean, think about it. It makes sense, right? If the water got turned off or power got turned off, the house is probably what, right? This could lead back to a vacant house, right? We could identify vacant houses by seeing that utilities were shut off, right? These two people could have already moved out. There could be a lot of different situations, but this is another good list, but it's going to take some work to go pull it, right? You're going to have to work with the city and you're going to have to make some calls or go in person to the city to figure this out. Number 8, one of my favorite big lists, right? All these ones are pretty small, what I call niche lists. This is starting to be a bigger list, but we call them the tired landlords, right? You can search this typically on websites like PropStream. We use that one. We use Deal Machine is one of our favorites. I'm happy to share a referral code with you guys if you want to try that one out. Another one is Deal Sauce. These are all good platforms to go pull data. And what they can do is they could pull it based on how many years have they owned it, right? You can also understand if they're absentee owned. Absentee means that it's the same person. You just take the property address and the mailing address. If they don't match, that typically means that it's an absentee owner. So absentee owners are typically landlords, right? And then you can also go on years of ownership. So if they've owned the property, say for 10 or 20 years, this could be a landlord that's owned it for a long time. This is one of my best lists and the highest performing, because typically these people are tired of dealing with it. They haven't raised rents in a long time. The house has maybe not been kept up with. And these are great fix and flips or great ways to go buy a rental, improve it. This is a great way to go create value, because often you can find properties that have not been repaired for a while, or maybe they're significantly under market rent, and you can go take those, get them up to market rent, and create a ton of value. I love closing these type of deals with my investors within my fund. And number 9, all the way down here at the bottom, if you can still see it, it is senior owned homes, right? Again, you can typically search this based on criteria. It's not always easy to search age of the owner, but there are different softwares out there, and this could be another great list. I will just tell you in terms of demographics and which lists perform the best, especially when it comes to direct mail, is seniors, people that age, right? These are people that are typically ready to move out. They don't want to deal with agents. They don't want to deal with hassles. Their property probably needs to be updated, right? These people, I can't tell you how many deals I've closed. So literally they're like, you know what, Casey, I'm okay selling my house at a discount because I don't want to deal with the headaches, right? And I don't want to go through all these headaches with repairs, contractors, and showings. They just want an easy solution because maybe they're downsizing, maybe they're moving into assisted living, whatever it may be. Maybe they just want to go move closer to their kids, right? And they want to sell, get rid of this house. They've already got a bunch of equity, and those can be some of the best deals to close. And just because I'm feeling generous today and making an even 10, let's give you guys a bonus one. Number 10, we call these zombie properties. All right, these are really good ones. Okay, the zombie ones are going to be vacant and they're going to be pre-foreclosure. So you're looking for both things, right? This might be you find that it's vacant because of the utilities have been shut off, right? And they're in pre-foreclosure. Think about it. This person is very motivated. They've moved out of the house. They're not there. They're probably headed right toward foreclosure to where you can get a really good deal on this property. If you can find the zombie properties, you're looking at a really good deal. Now, how do you pull these type of niche lists? I've been kind of alluding to each one of them as I work down, but I wanted to recap that, right? You can go pay a data provider to get these lists for you. That's one thing we do. We actually use a company called Leadvine. They pull all of our data and they give it to us weekly to where we have the most up-to-date data and we're ready to send direct mail to it like right away in a timely fashion. You can go pull a lot of the stuff yourself manually if you're starting out, right? And the other way you could do it is go and invest in a software or another company called, you could use CropStream, you can use Deal Machine. We've had a lot of success with Deal Machine in getting bulk data that is actually skip traced to where we can not only mail it, but we can also call it at the same time. That's one of my favorite parts about Deal Machine. Deal Machine is also a great driving for dollars. This company started out, that was initially their app, was a driving for dollars app, which we mentioned is one of the best ways to go find these lead types, right? But now they have a bunch of data, and they're one of the companies I recommend a lot. The other one is Deal Sauce. All right, and I'll share all these links with you guys to get you set up with these companies. But that's another way to go pull a lot of data, and then you can sort through it and figure out which data that you want to mail to. Finally, if you're not going to go pull the data from one of these aggregators, you're going to have to go find it yourself. As mentioned with the code violations, utility ones. Sometimes you're going to have to go put your feet on the ground, right? Boots on the ground, go driving for dollars, go find these deals yourself. And again, the more niche the list is and the harder it is to get it, if you guys remember, I keep saying this, that means high barrier to entry. That means the best deals that no one else is looking at. Now it's time to segue into how do we get in front of these sellers? We got all these leads now in all these niche lists. How are we going to get them to call us first? This is where I go into our direct mail campaign. You can also call them, you can also text them, you can email them, a lot of different strategies. We're going to do all of them, but I want to break down the most effective one that I found. Okay, so the first one is postcards. One of my most successful postcards, and the postcard that delivered this huge return last year of $655,000, that was a simple postcard with a buffalo. You can see it right here. We invest in Wyoming. I wanted to create a custom postcard that really gave a Wyoming feel, and that people would look at and people would be like, oh, I could relate to that. I'm going to check it out. The other thing we do on these postcards is they're actually handwritten. Okay, if you guys want to do your own postcards, I would highly recommend this company. It's Ballpoint Marketing. I'll share a link down below in the description so you guys can hook up with those guys. They're great. One of my favorite things about Ballpoint is how easy it is to get a bunch of direct mail sent out at once. So here's the process. You can go pick the creative, or our buffalo was our creative, right? But once you have your creative, all you got to do is go pull one of these lists back here, pull it in Excel. You're going to send it to Ballpoint. They're going to go through it. They're going to make sure they have everything they need. They're going to make sure they have the tracking phone number, right? Which we'll talk about a little bit later. They're going to make sure they have the right address and everything nailed down. They want to have the message you want, right? You can only have so many handwritten words on these postcards. So once you've sent all this stuff to Ballpoint, they're going to send you a proof so you can look at it, double check it, make sure all your data is good. Once you're good to go, you green light it, pay the invoice, and boom, just like that, you are dropping direct mail, handwritten postcards in all these people's mailboxes, right? Guys, I'm telling you, this was super successful. I spent about $30,000 on it last year and made $655,000. Now that said, we are taking it to the next level, right? These handwritten postcards are great, right? But again, it's a postcard. It's a pretty easy, if I'm going through my mail and I have a postcard, I know that's a quick one I'm throwing away because typically it's not that important, right? We wanted to take it a step further. That's what got us into these handwritten, self-addressed postcards. My family and I actually put together ourselves, right? We spent the day, we do this actually often on Sundays, and we will go through we have an assembly line. I got 4 kids and my wife. We all work together. Somebody is self-addressing these envelopes, right? And then I got another little boy who's taking his time to draw a little bit, this is a little bit too much. Probably wouldn't recommend this, but one of my sons got extra excited with the drawing. They thought it was pretty funny, but it'll work, right? Or this just simple, just a couple little footballs, right? Took him a couple seconds. But let me show you what we put in here, right? So you can take it a step further, which I don't do, and you could literally like handwrite a note. But what I do is I have a quick little letter here, all right? So you can see my letter. I address it, I write their name, I sign my name, I go over what we're talking about. I try to keep these very generic, right? So I want to have a letter that I can send to all these different lists, right? I don't send something saying, hey, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry someone passed away. I make it very generic. Like this is literally the one I would send to somebody who had actually had somebody pass away, right? It says, hope you're doing well. I've been interested in this property for a little while now, but I've had some trouble getting in touch with the owner. So myself, and I put, and my little boys who love helping me address the envelopes, figured we'd send you a personal letter. I've been buying houses in Wyoming since 2010. This is how I support my family. And over the years, I've helped many homeowners sell quickly and easy on their terms. Right, I've got a couple more paragraphs with my information, my email, and that's it. If you guys want access to this template below, please, I'll have links below to share this exact template with you guys, okay? So this is what I put in there. Along with that, we stuff it with a little quick flyer, right? This has got a picture of my family down here, all right? A couple pictures of properties that we've actually flipped ourselves. We talk a little bit about our company, And then we put our testimonials, our reviews from our company. We have the luxury, since we've been in business, we've been very, very intentful about making sure we get lots of reviews anytime we have a good customer experience. And now we have lots of 5-star reviews, and I share that. That way, if somebody opens this letter A, hopefully they're gonna open the letter because they got this pretty little letter. They're like, oh, this is intriguing, right? This letter, unlike a lot of other letters, like if somebody gets this, whatever, I pulled this one from what is this? Saber tree, whatever, just spam, right? This is going in the garbage, right? We're throwing this out, right? Now this letter, I'm gonna be like, what is this? Who is Casey Gregerson, and who is it mailing me from Laramie, right? This is gonna get opened, and once they open it, they're gonna see this letter, right? And again, it still might be thrown away if they're not motivated, but again, we're hitting very, very motivated lists, right? I would not suggest, if you have the time to do this with a huge list, even like tired landlords that's a big list depending on your market. But I'm going after the very specific list. Like these people should be selling for one reason or the other. I'm talking about the vacant distress. I'm talking about pre-foreclosure. I'm talking about probate. All right, not tax delinquent. I wouldn't do that one. I'm talking about divorce, code violations, utilities. Those are that could go either way, right? Same with senior and tired landlords. But I'm hitting very niche lists with this. Guys, I'm really excited to share the results of this campaign. We're just getting it rolling, and I think it's going to crush this year in 2025. This is another example of, because we've been doing this for so long, but because we have good systems, because we have like good reviews, which I showed you, we have a track record, that we think this is going to be really successful. And if you are watching this and you're like, man, I've learned a ton right now. I want to try direct mail. I want to get off market deals, but I don't have the budget to go buy any of these lists. I don't have the budget to go send 50,000 postcards at $1 each. I don't have the budget to go spend 5, 10, 15 grand on postcards. As I mentioned, last year I spent $30,000. This year I'm planning to spend $72,000 in direct mail marketing to get in front of these people. Not everybody's ready to spend that, right? So for those of you who are interested, I actually work with people, some of my teams and actually new people to real estate, they're actually helping me with these letters, right? I give them a list and they can get involved. They can actually go send these, they can work with their kids, or they can do it themselves. I guess to give them a bunch of addresses, they send them out. And I'm even letting these people follow up, because I'm about to get to the next step in a second with, after you send this, you got to follow up. But I love working with other people who want to help out in this strategy, just to learn basically, how do you go from a lead on a list, or how do you go from the idea of like finding an off-market deal to pulling a list, to mailing the list to them, to getting on a call, to doing an appointment, to negotiating, to getting it under contract, to going through the title process and closing a real estate transaction. We do those all the time, and I'm always happy to show anybody that process. So if that's you and you're watching this video, there's some information below on how you can get involved. Now, if you've been involved in marketing, and even if you haven't, you've probably heard this phrase, it's all in the follow-up. The same thing is gonna apply to these postcards. It's all about the follow-up, right? So I'll tell you a little bit about our process. What we do is, once we pull this list, I get an updated list every Thursday. At that point, these letters are going out. We're trying to get these out by Friday afternoon, okay? So hopefully it's hitting houses the next week, right? So now the following week after that, we're gonna go touch them again. Our first touch is typically gonna be a phone call, right? Or a text message and or a voicemail, right? So again, week 1, postcard. Week 2, follow-up call. At that point, we're gonna take a break on week 3, or we might do another call to another follow-up, right? But the next thing is I'm gonna go send another piece of mail, right? And then I might actually go send them my postcard with a handwritten message, and maybe I'll send my little buffalo so they can relate to it. It's a different variation of what we first sent them, to hopefully this time we get their attention. And maybe they got the first one and didn't take action, but again, you keep following up, and at some point, they're gonna call you, right? Or they're gonna keep throwing it away, and that's okay, but you're gonna keep being consistent. Because guys, I can't tell you how many times that we don't get a call in the first time. Well, let me share this with you. You would not believe how often we get a call on a postcard that has been over a year old since we sent it. Like, some people just hang on to these things and they're like, you know what? Those people were nice enough to send me a handwritten card. When the time is right, I'm gonna call them. And maybe it's hanging on their fridge, or maybe they take a picture on their phone. I'm not sure what they do, but they call back later. So I'm just telling you, it's in the follow-up. You gotta stay in touch with these people. So after week 1, I've sent this nice handwritten, self-addressed envelope. Week 2, I'm calling and texting, same thing. Week 3, week 4, now I'm sending a new postcard, right? And then after that, I'm just gonna continue to hit them every 30 days and be consistent. And I'm going to be consistent until they either tell me, hey, I'm not interested, or I don't hear anything. Now, as we wrap this up, I realize that not everyone is going to take action upon this and start pulling their own niche lists, paying for these lists, or spending the time to go hunt them down. Not everybody's going to want to go send direct mail, handwrite it themselves, spend the money on it to actually handwrite it and do all the postage, or go pay a company like Ballpoint to send out bulk direct mail. That is a significant investment. Also, I realized a lot of people, even if they found the deal, they don't have the funds to maybe go take it down, or don't have the contractors to do a renovation, or if they want to hold a rental property, they're not really sure how to actually go finance it, put it together, close it, and manage the rental property. All that said, I still want you to be able to take some sort of action, because if you watch the video this far, you are clearly committed and you want to do more. Here are 4 to 5 different ways you can help out, right? Number 1 is you can help me out with driving for dollars. You could do this in your own local market. This takes no money, it'll take a little bit of gas money, but you're just gonna go drive around in your different neighborhoods and look for niche list number 1, right? We're looking for distressed and vacant properties. You can drive around, there's a cool app that I mentioned, Deal Machine. You could just click every house that looks distressed, make a couple notes, and then boom, we can start hitting it with marketing, okay? Number 2, addressing these envelopes. As I mentioned, I already have people helping me out with this. I want to do this at scale, and I can only do so many with my 4 boys and family. So what I'm doing is I'm partnering with other people who are helping me send these letters, right? They're actually going through, I'm sending them the list, I'm sending them the envelopes, postage, everything they need to go do it, and they send it out. And people enjoy this because they get to actually be one of the first parts of the process in closing a potential deal. Now, as we work down it, number 3 would be, do you want to be part of the follow-up? And you could do all 3 of these, right? You could do driving for dollars. You could be the one making these envelopes, right? Third one is you could be doing the follow-up. But to explain what the follow-up is you're going to be the one calling them. We'll send this out day 1. 7 days later, you're going to be calling and following up with that exact same lead and saying, hey, did you see our postcard? Our kids hand wrote it. Did you like it? What did you think, right? Or you're texting, you're emailing, you're doing all the follow-up. I'm looking for people who want to help out with that. Now, let's say that you're a little bit farther down the line, right? Maybe you love the strategy, and maybe you appreciate the fact that, as I told you guys, I invested $30,000 last year to make $655. Well, this year I'm investing $72,000, all right, in all the postcards just like this, right? And also the handwritten or the machine robot written postcards, right? I'm gonna spend $72,000 this year to get deals and run the process. You might be like, that's a lot of money and a lot of time. I just want to be a buyer. So if you're interested in being a buyer for these off-market deals, so you don't have to be buying directly from agents and want to work with us specifically, reach out. Guys, all these different links are down in the description below so you can get involved. The last one, and maybe some of your favorite one, is let's say you learned a lot today and you're just like, Casey, this is intriguing. This is super interesting, but I don't have time for any of that, right? But what I do have is I have money, right? Typically you have time, you have knowledge, or you have money. If you are the one who just has capital and you love this business model and the fact that we're finding these distressed properties or motivated sellers, or the fact that we're finding them before anyone else is finding them, and we're getting them under contract, we're fixing them up, we're flipping them, or we're turning them into rental properties. If that's you, I also want you to reach out, because you could be helping us be a lender on one of these deals that we're flipping. Or if you're an accredited investor, you could actually invest in our fund and be part of our buy and holding of these assets. Because what we do within Bighorn Capital Fund, I just launched one of our newest funds, one of our newest offerings, which is bringing in limited partners to come in and buy deals just like this, right? We're going to fix them up. Some of them are going to flip, but other ones we're going to hold as rental properties. And then we're planning to let these properties, we're going to force the value, force the appreciation. We're also going to let appreciation over time, because we like buying in markets that tend to appreciate over time. And after 5 years, we plan to sell all the properties and pay back all our investors, hopefully a great return. Again, this is for accredited investors only, that last one I mentioned to you guys, but I wanted to show you guys 5 different ways that you could potentially get involved in that. If you're interested in any one of those 5, please comment the word letter below in the comments, and someone from my team is going to specifically reach out to you and figure out, hey, where do you want to help? How could you become a part of this? If you guys like this video, as always, please like and subscribe.